Your earballs are not causing you any grief right now. You're listening to the dulcet tones of the Breaking Down Security Podcast. How are you this week? I'm Brian Brake. This is Mr. Betcher, as always.
Yo.
Ms. Berlin, she's still got her busted wheel, and she's living on the endorphins that come from the satisfaction of knowing that she's got a talk this week that has been accepted to DerbyCon. She doesn't know which one, so we're very excited that she's going to be speaking at DerbyCon this year, in addition to speaking at Hacker Summer Camp, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, which is very awesome.
Seriously, a couple of weeks? I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's not next week, but it's the week after, so it's like 2 weeks from now. So.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I know.
Close.
You're going to be there, right?
I'm supposed to be there. Wow.
Wait.
Get my act together.
Wait. You said supposed to be there. Have you been invited?
Yeah. Well.
Are you crashing the party?
Well, I do have tickets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just didn't realize it was coming so soon because I'd take it easy.
Which one, Black Hat or DEF CON?
Flow. I have all three.
Wow, boy, big pimping. Yeah. Look at you. Where'd you get all of them?
It's not what you know; it's who you know.
Oh, easy, Captain Network over there. Wow.
Now, I paid for. I will pay for DEF CON when the time comes.
Right.
And I got. If you buy or reserve a hotel room in the Tuscany, your B-Sides tickets come with the room.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got that.
Right on. Yeah, the DEF CON ones you got to pay in cash, which I found interesting. And you've got to start lining up like the afternoon before or whatever, and you can get early tickets or you get an electronic badge. I think that's the whole reason people line up. They want the badge. So,
yeah. And Black Hat is pretty expensive,
right.
But I was able to get tickets.
Yeah, the badge thing's kind of becoming popular. I know, full disclosure, I work for Leviathan. Leviathan's actually putting out badges, and if you happen to see them and they give you a badge, there's a puzzle on it that will lead you to someplace special. So if you're running around DerbyCon and somebody hands you a Leviathan badge, start banging on it and maybe you'll find something special. So
where do I seek them out?
You know what? I understand that Frank is going to be there. If you know Falcon Momont is going to be there as well. He's one of our senior pen testers and consultants. So, Leviathan's going to be showing the flag. They wanted me to go, but I was like, I can't because I'm already burned too much vacation time. So, if everything works out next year, I'll definitely look into going to DEF CON and Black Hat, or not Black Hat, but DEF CON and B-Sides. So, I'm optimistically cautious that I will enjoy it. Or cautiously optimistic I'll enjoy it. That's what it is. So
they have the talks released for Black Hat and DEF CON.
Really?
I haven't checked B-Sides yet.
Okay.
They probably do. I just didn't check.
Right.
So I'm trying to line up my schedule, what I'm going to do. You kind of have to do that in advance if you're going to get a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went 2 years ago was, I don't know, it was overwhelming.
Right.
There was just too much going on. And I was like, well, what do I do? Do I go to this get together? Do I go to this party? Do I go to this talk? It was like, wow.
Yep.
Try to be more structured this time.
Right. Well, it's good to know that 2 of the 3 of the Breaking Down Security podcasts will be there, Miss Amanda and you. And we have a Hacker Summer Camp channel on our Slack. So if you are going to be at Hacker Summer Camp and you want to, coordinate with people, that's always available if you're interested in doing that. So, all right, let's get started. We did have a subject that was supposed to happen, but if you've been following me on Twitter, you'll see that I'm a little salty about what happened with the fallout of that. Certain PR companies had the idea that maybe we weren't big enough to have their guest on, so they decided that they wanted more exposure, and that didn't meant BrakeSec's not the one that they should be, putting their people on. So. I'm not going to name names.
They're against cursing.
Maybe. That could be it. Maybe
they just don't like Amanda for some reason.
Oh, Oh, man, you said that? I can't believe you went there.
Why?
Wow, that's hurtful. Yeah, no, seriously though. It's just weird that, PR companies just don't get it. It doesn't matter if it's 2 people or 2,000 people. People need to hear the message that you're trying to put out. And if your guests can't get on to do those things, then they're never going to get their message heard. So something to think about if they're listening in a passive aggressive tone that I'm giving you. So, all right. So these were some of the stories that we were supposed to talk about last week, but we got on to threat hunting and didn't get to them. So, Mr. Betcher, you can talk about the first one here. And this is some side channel attack kind of stuff, right?
Uh-oh. I don't have the notes up.
Oh, with you. All right. Let me copy the link in the chat here. So
that'll be helpful.
Yeah, this is the one about the insurance stuff. So this is actually something that I think we've known about for a while. And, you hear about things like, the 23andMe's out there that are, taking all your information. And there's some legislation, I believe, against using genetic information to raise your insurance rates based on what they find. But there's additional things that they're slurping up, that will also give them indicators that maybe they should raise your your insurance rates.
Yeah, actually, I did have this article up, but you said side channel, and it threw me off.
Well, it is a side channel attack, isn't it?
I guess
they're not directly attacking, you. They're looking at things like your lifestyle information or what your likes and dislikes are.
They're sucking up all kinds of data about you from other sources, not you directly.
Right.
Not things that you know about, actually.
Right.
For example, I go to a fast food restaurant. Let's just assume that I visit this fried chicken place every Monday, and then I go to a burger joint every Tuesday, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then they suck up this data from my credit card company or the fast food companies or whoever is has these records on me, or whether it's coming from Verizon or AT&T or Apple from the GPS location that I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
They assume that I'm eating there, something like that.
Right.
They track you. And they make a determination that since you eat out all the time, you must be overweight, have high blood pressure, or at risk for any number of cardiovascular diseases, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then your insurance rate goes up as a result. Or let's say your healthcare company doesn't want to pay for that operation that you need,
right?
Because they say, well, you're high risk. Or if you're in a country that has universal health care, something like that, and maybe the government doesn't want to pay for your treatment. We told you to lay off the tacos, so we're not going to give you that hip replacement surgery that you want. I'm sorry, but there are other higher priorities. There are children that need this that have a better potential than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Any number of things can come back later, and things may be worse off for us individuals who may have that. I told this story before. I went to a bourbon tour in Louisville that we're talking about, DerbyCon.
Right.
I went to a distillery.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I was getting ads for bourbon on my phone, even though I had never searched for it or anything like that. It was just my GPS location that tipped the advertisers off to where I was and what I was interested in.
Yep.
Now I'm a drunk, apparently, who's at risk for drunk driving or whatever. You never know.
Right. Well,
happen.
So, I mean, it's not that they're going to take this information and directly correlate it. They have calculations, they have algorithms, they have machine learning algorithms that they're using to go, they're not necessarily going to say you're drunk and you're going to do all this stuff, but they're going to say he has a higher likelihood of drunk driving because he frequents, distilleries on a semi-regular basis, or, like you said, he has a higher chance of heart disease because he ingests fast food, or what was one of the other ones they mentioned in here? You heard the story a few years ago about the, Facebook was slurping up data about a woman, and she was pregnant but didn't want her family to know about it. And, she started getting ads about pregnancy, and her father apparently had gotten something in an email saying, hey, congratulations, we noticed your daughter was pregnant. Because, I
don't think that it was that blatant, but they were getting ads in the mail.
Right.
I guess, because it happened a number of years ago.
Right.
They were getting things in the mail, coupons for
that's right.
baby products or whatever it was, formula, things like that.
Yeah.
And the baby beds.
Yep. The bad thing though is this is not against it's not a violation of any HIPAA data or anything like that. It only protects medical information. And according to this guy who works for LexisNexis, the data's in the public domain and it's all out there. So, there's huge swathes of this data all up in, places like Cambridge Analytics and the Crimson Hexagon, which Facebook recently just ejected for, selling that information. You don't necessarily have to volunteer information anymore. You go to checkout and they go, hey, what's your email address? And you're like, I don't want to give that email information. Well, they've already got additional information on you, how many times you go to Home Depot. Hey, maybe you're doing some home improvement projects. Every time I go to, okay, so I'm in the state of Washington State up here in the Seattle area. Weed is legal. So I just came home with a friend of mine, and he stops at the shop and gets him some edibles and some things that he takes home to his wife. I look down on my phone and it goes, Google, of course, very helpfully going, hey, we'd like to know more information about X shop. Kind of like how we talked about with the gentleman from, doing the Amazon Turk stuff earlier this year.
Yeah.
They're wanting information to help, verify their machine algorithms, and we're helping them, get better at that. Of course, I don't do those, so I don't worry about, filling those things out. But it's just interesting whenever you're near something and Google goes, hey, let us know what you thought about X, or, what did you feel about X park? Google's slurping all that data up, and they're not saying, well, Brian was at this spot on, X day, but they're going, hey, a lot of people, including somebody who lives in the area, thinks this is a really good place to go. This exact idea of a side channel attack, whereas or the metadata issue is like, I don't have AIDS, but I can, I'm not telling you I have AIDS, but I, got something from my doctor and immediately called, AIDS, hotline for people who, have that. And, it may not, point directly to them having AIDS, but the fact that you got a call from your doctor and then immediately called something like that, lends itself to, the stereotypes, or lends to a logical conclusion that, with the data, it's was that
yeah. Did you call the suicide hotline at any time in your life?
Right.
All kinds of things.
Yeah. What you see is all there is. The thinking fast and slow stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. And
the one of the examples is the health score of a woman who is age 25 to 38, divorced, white, says expensive pregnancy or stress because of divorce.
Right.
And so her healthcare costs are going to go up because she's at risk for different things.
Yep.
Because of the things that she does and the things that happen to her along the way.
Yep.
And somewhere in the article, and this is by ProPublica, LexisNexis gets about 400. What did they say? 422 different things about people.
Yep. Yeah, and it's amazing the number of things that come out of that. The number of things that can be collected on you. Period. Like, well, I'm probably higher than normal. I have a Fitbit, so all that information is getting slurped up by Fitbit and done with God knows what. They don't have to mention names, but they can go, well, of all of our Fitbit users, like 85% of them don't get enough sleep, or 15% of them go to the gym on a semi-regular basis, or whatever. And depending on what your sharing requirements are in an application, they could actually send that information out. They just de-anonymize it as much as possible, giving people a better picture of you in this case. So. Just
is a different company called SAS. Has 1,500 different data elements, and this is not HIPAA data, anything like that, like your social security number, but it's things about you. For example, you purchased a lot of plus size clothing,
right? Right.
Recently, so you must be getting fat, and of course you're at risk the more you weigh for different things like diabetes, heart disease, etc.
Yep. So,
So this is why I pay cash.
That's why you pay cash. Well, you're on cameras there too, so people's going to see you, buying the Slim Jims and your ho-hos and your apple pies at the supermarket. So, you're gonna see that stuff. So. So I saw this one on Twitter. This is another news article that I'm finding interesting. So, Mr. Betcher, you do a lot with fishing. You deal with a lot of people who get fished or, are involved in the fishing process, being they're the victims. Did you see the Krebs on Security article?
Google security keys neutralize employee phishing?
Yeah. I
did not read it.
Okay.
No, I didn't know we were talking about this.
No, it's okay. I kind of dropped this on you at the last minute. So, you can read along in the story. So apparently 85,000 employees plus at Google haven't had a single fish on their work-related accounts since early 2017. What do you think about that?
Depends on what they mean by fish, like successfully fished.
Exactly my point. So they say early 2017, all employees had to start using physical security keys in place of passwords and one-time codes. So pretty much YubiKey. With the latest generation ones here, from what I understand. So they're enabling two-factor authentication. So you log in with something and something you have, versus just something you know, which would be the password or a mobile device. They quote it as saying, "We've had no reported or confirmed account takeovers since implementing security keys at Google." I'm not exactly sure what an account takeover means. Does that mean that they got the email, they clicked on the link, and they
put in their password?
They put in their password and they put in their two-factor and they got owned? Because that is a lot to do to be able to get owned by somebody.
I would like to talk to somebody who does this, like a pen tester who actually does this sort of thing. Because I have heard that two-factor sometimes can be really easy to bypass. You just need to get the timing right.
Right.
Yeah. I'm skeptical, but kudos to them for implementing this across the board.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah. My thing is, I think a lot of people, and I mentioned the what is it? Not stage one. What is it? You turned me on to that book, Thinking Fast and Slow, with the 1 and 2 memory.
You finished it, right?
I did. I listened to the audiobook. It was a 20-hour audiobook. It took me 50 hours because I had to go back, rewind and stuff because I didn't grok it when I was listening through to it. But so when we're checking email and there's a link in the email and we don't bother thinking about what it is we're clicking on until it's too late. Because it's normally you just click on the link because you're like, oh, well, I expected that. Oh, crap, that's not where it goes. There's like a disconnect there between your
muscle memory.
Muscle memory, right. You're used to clicking on the links in the email. And it seems to me that not only is two-factor a good thing, and it is a very good thing, it's very effective in combating a lot of things, but there's probably a process at some point where the Google users have to go through this process of using their second factor to log in or to do something. And it's just enough for them to go, huh. And then when they go, huh, it's like they're thinking about, well, is this something I should do? Or this is a complete pain in the ass. I don't know why I do this. The process is so broken, but it just saved my bacon because, it's taken me so long to get to this point. Do I want to click on this link? Because I'm going to have to put my two-factor token in. I'm going to have to put my password in. It's such a pain in the butt. That may have been a fake link, and 30 seconds may have saved somebody instead of, them just clicking on the link and doing whatever. So I see two-factor as not only additional security, but it requires additional overhead and work, just enough that people, do I want to do this? And then it's like, oh, maybe that's a bad link, or maybe this makes people think before they actually do something.
That's a good point. I've got so many different two factors. I've got Google Auth, I've got Duo.
Yep.
I've got what's the other one in Azure?
Yep.
I've got that.
Yep.
Of course, you get text sometimes.
Right.
And Google will text me with a code. I got to do that.
Yep.
I don't even know how many others I have just on my phone.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And then I've got the RSA key for another thing.
Yep.
And then I got an RSA key app on my phone, which is something completely different.
Yep.
That's RSA token. Yeah. App.
Yep. That sounds about right.
So I've got so many different ones. So it does make you think. There are times though, when I've gone through some rigmarole to visit something or download a paper on whatever topic, I stop and I go, wow, I so could have gotten fished right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking. Yep. That would have been a really cool hack. Had I, and I know it didn't happen because I have whitelisting going on, but still, I was like, wow, I could have so gotten owned right there.
Yep. Yeah. I think that I've always been a fan of this stuff, but then I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, well, the majority of people are just, they're quick on that trigger. They want to, look at the link. Hey, yes, I've, click here to make sure that you don't lose your insurance benefits. And it's like, oh, crap. And they've been phished. If they have to do something that slows them down enough so that other memory or that other thing is like, the security memory in this case makes them think, hey, this doesn't sound right. Why would my insurance company be sending it to my work email? Why is the CEO asking me to send millions of dollars to a bank in China that we have no business with? If you can slow people down enough that they make that thought, or have that thought, then, maybe that's, as a, can only help with your 2FA implementation or reduce your chances of getting phished, Yeah,
and phishing can come in many forms. Some people would call this next example a trick, or you were scammed. But if you get an email that says, hey, I've got some racy photos of you, you need to pay me $2,000, I'll release them to the public.
Right.
Or whatnot. And then you start to think, like, what did I do? This is sort of a hypnotist's trick. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you something that 80% of the people might go, oh, I kind of know what you're talking about there, when it could be a infinite number of things. Right. And so that's how you get roped in, because they don't really know. Yep. You don't really know, but you're kind of making it up in your mind. And, oh, maybe they do really know about this. Yep. Right. oh yeah, you were talking to my, great grandfather who died 40 years ago. He's trying to tell me something. You know, they manipulate you in that way, but you're, I guess, you did have something happen to you and you make that connection right away, and then you can't unconnect that. You keep thinking about it,
Right.
and you just go deeper and deeper down that hole.
Yep. Yeah. So, if your organization doesn't have two-factor, definitely implement it. But yeah, you should maybe try to, make that hurdle, or make that, adding that will definitely increase the time it takes for somebody to do something and get in trouble. So anything that can help slow people down and make them think a little bit before they actually click on a link or do something they don't want to do. Or maybe you've got people who, I don't want to call them lazy, but they, just don't want to, deal with it. I put this thing in 15 times a day. I don't want to do that. If you force people to do this more and more often, then people will be like, well, I don't want to have to do it 28 times a day, so I'm just not going to click on that link, or I'm not going to do X. And maybe not doing X is going to be the best thing to do, because otherwise you could get owned. So, yeah.
And if you read the article or just look at the article, there is a link on the right that says, here's the value of a hacked email. And then Krebs kind of goes through well, what maybe some of the things you've never thought of,
right,
as to how the criminals are monetizing on stealing your email account.
Right.
There's a lot of things that they can get depending on what you do with your email.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So real quick, one of the other ones that I wanted to hit, it's the Netflix one here. Let me put the link in there. Chat.
Ooh, I had that one up too.
Oh, good. All right. So, Netflix, they do a lot of stuff with regards to incident response, digital forensics, automation in their cloud. This came from the Netflix tech blog, July 17th. Very interesting about a new tool that they have. It's called DFIR, which ironically enough, is a differencing engine for digital forensics in the cloud. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, Mr. Betcher, he does him some incident response. He would probably need something like this. And so the CERT, which is SIRT in this case, or the Netflix Security Intelligence and Response Team, released this tool called DFIR, DIFFY. It'll be in the show notes if you want a link. It's a triage tool to help digital forensics and incident response teams identify compromised hosts on which to focus their response during a security incident in cloud architectures. I don't know about I don't know about you, Mr. Betcher, but I know most of the people in, listening to us have one or more instances in various places on the cloud providers, whether it be Google Compute or Azure or Amazon or what have you. When there's an incident in the cloud, it's not easy to necessarily do incident response or digital evidence collection or forensics on those things.
Nope, it's not. The thing about this tool is it kind of does things that we do in LogMD, which is take a baseline. I think other tools do this too, like Tripwire.
Oh, okay.
Take a baseline. And if there's any changes to that baseline, then highlight them. So that gets rid of all the things that you trust, right? Provided you took that baseline in a known good state.
Right.
You take a baseline and the thing's compromised, then it does you no good. But yes, this is helpful for forensics investigators and IR people because it lets them know what they don't have to look at.
Right.
Oh, the file system has 2 million files on it, but I can throw 99.999% of those files out, and I just concentrate on these files.
Right.
And then you can start going, okay, this location I'm not worried about, these benign files I'm not worried about. Let's just focus on the brand new executables that aren't in my baseline or in my known good state. I'll focus on those. Where did they come from? What are they doing, etc.
Right.
So this tool by Netflix helps you in the cloud identify a baseline image and then takes a diff. That's why it's called DFIR.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Of a suspect system.
Yep. And it uses OS Query to...
it integrates with OS Query.
Yeah, and it uses that. And what OS Query does is basically it's installed as an agent on a box, and you can query it much like you do a database, and it has all the information in it where you can pull that information and get your baseline that way. So one of the other things that it does, and I know some of you are going, well, we don't have normal boxes. We do clusters and stuff. So OS Query, during an incident, the clustering, which they said is in the pipeline, so it'll be available soon. The OS Query will take a check of all of the instances in a specific application group, and no pre-incident baselines will be needed if you're using in a clustering. So they'll use they use an algorithm to identify dissimilar elements in system state. So I guess they're assuming that if you have, say, 500 Cassandra instances in a cluster, not all of those boxes are going to be owned immediately if you're doing testing on that. Am I wrong in thinking that? That sounds right?
In most cases, yeah.
Okay. So you can always look and see, well, 380 of them have, a user called Bob, but the other ones don't. So we know that that's probably something that probably shouldn't be on those 380, and that's something that shouldn't happen. So that's very cool. Says when instances in application group are expected to be very similar, right? Outliers will stick out noticeably, right? Or 150 of these boxes have a connection going out to someplace in Argentina, for instance, and the other ones don't. That's something that probably shouldn't have happened because everybody's supposed to kind of walk in lockstep. So that's very very cool little tool there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yet another tool that Netflix has made public that worked well in their organization. They thought they would share it.
Right,
so
right.
Kudos.
Yeah, so github.com/Netflix-skunkworks-Diffie. And you can contribute. Apparently it's under I think an Apache 2.0 license. So yeah, you can definitely get in there and improve it or make it better if you'd like. I could definitely see this being used as like a maybe you could turn it into like detecting known behaviors, or if you know that your indicators of compromise is various network connections or an IP address or a user, you can query using OS Query for those indicators of compromise and find out if they exist in your environment. I could definitely see something like that being done, right?
Right.
Yeah. Cool. And it looks like it works in, they have plugins for collection with AWS EC2 Systems Manager. And I'm sure that with it being a plug-in modular architecture, you could add Google Compute and Azure to it at all. The reason it works on AWS is, of course, Netflix is a massive user of US East 1 over there on AWS on the east coast of the US there. So, I need to go.
No, I didn't catch that. Does it say you have to take some sort of a snapshot or pause it or just take a image it?
Well, it just says a collection of a functional baseline from a clean running instance. So I assume you would stand up, like you could stand up, I guess, your cluster, or you could stand up a host that you know is going to be good. Take the baseline.
All done live?
It seems like, yeah. Which kind of makes more sense, right?
I don't know what's the performance hit for looking at every single thing on that instance.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of perf hit you would get on that. I would assume since Netflix uses massive amounts of instances in AWS, them standing up yet another instance probably would go completely unnoticed in most respects. Mm-hmm. So I mean, in a cluster, you would you don't have to do baselining. So this would be on the fly. I would imagine it would be very much on the fly. If you're doing instances, yeah, you'd want to, put up a known clean or a known good and then run your baseline that way. That's assuming you have one-offs of things, right? I mean, if you're running a handful of DNS servers, or one or two DNS servers, or one server that does X versus 50 web servers, you would definitely need a baseline for something that's unique. You wouldn't want to try to do something because you don't know what your baseline is at that point. So that's why you'd want to run a baseline for some things, but not necessarily for everything else.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you're a large cloud environment, if you got a DFIR team that has to do these kinds of checks, or wants to check for known goods, I would imagine you could even run a cron regularly to look for odd behaviors or changes that have happened to your systems, depending on your baseline, because you're gonna have to do a new baseline every time you do an update, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, every time you ran apt update, or they talked about running this in your CI/CD pipeline. They have an API for application owners, calling it deploy time. So when activated, Diffie deploys a system configuration and management tool, that's the OS query thing, to the instance and collects a baseline set of observations from the system by issuing SQL commands. So yeah, OS query can actually do it on containers. What's that?
Looks like it's all in Python.
Yeah, right. They also said that OS query works on containers as well, so that's really nice. It's really nice. Of course, you're not going to be patching containers. You're just going to blow them away, which is why they suggested, running your OS query on start. So OS query, I believe, has a fairly small footprint, so you're not adding a ton of, your tripwire agents or whatever connecting, your containers, because you're going to run out of licenses fairly quickly if you're running those kinds of things on your containers. So
yeah. Well, it's pretty active. Latest commit 2 hours ago.
Ooh, nice. Very nice. So yeah, there's a link in the show notes to where to go and get that. And they have contributor guidelines, so you can read the documents. You can actually, they have from what I understand, they have very good documentation on how to do plugins. And they also mentioned that they're hiring. So if you want to get on their DFIR team, you can definitely go and check out their jobs.netflix and check that out. So, all right. Well, I don't have any more. I just wanted to say again, congratulations to all of the people who are going to see at DerbyCon speaking, including Miss Berlin. And if you're at Hacker Summer Camp, you got to definitely check out and talk to Miss Wendy Knox Everett. She's going to be at the Lockpick Village when she's not speaking. She's got 5 talks to give. She's got 3 1-hour talks, she said, in 25 hours. So she's got one about every 8 hours, which is phenomenal. So if you get to Lockpick Village in Vegas, go check out and say hey. Mr. Betcher, what are you doing there? Are you just a spectator?
Just a spectator.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Yep. So if people wanted to talk to you more about LogMD or whatever it is that you are interested in at this point in time, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah. Go to my website, log-md.com. Check it out. You can hit me up also on Twitter. My handle is @BetcherPwned, BOETTCHER PWNED.
Right on. So, Ms. Amanda, she's still working on her knee. She's got her, she's going to be working at getting upstairs so she can come and talk on our next show. But if you want to talk to her on Twitter, @InfoSyster, INFOSYSTIR. She's on our Slack, which is very active. If you're interested in joining our Slack, you can ask for an invite either by DMing us on our Twitter handle @BrakesEC, BRAKESEC, or you can email us at bds.podcast@gmail.com.
I knew we shouldn't have put the studio on the second floor. I told you.
That's her home office, man. I don't tell people what to do like that. You know, it's more feng shui for her or whatever to have that upstairs. So, I told her to avoid trampolines for about the rest of her life. So, because I think that's how all this started, was a bad trampoline jump. So, I've jammed my knee a couple times when I was younger. So I completely can see how that would be a thing.
It's crazy how that works. My sister was pushed and she fell on her ankle, and she has had ankle problems her entire life.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
That's not good. Yeah. That would be some of the information that insurance companies would want to have. You know, do you have a trampoline in your house?
Yeah. And my uncle, when he was little, a girl screamed in his ear at school.
Really?
And he's been deaf in that ear his whole life.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
That's not good. Wow. Anyway, so we have several moderators. Scott Pack, who's awesome, and he's running our sim. We started a sim meetup online virtually. Yeah, we're doing our CTF club. We just started our summer reading program with one of the books that David Sybuck suggested. We're still doing practical packing analysis on our every 2 weeks book club. The sim club went well. We had like 15, 16 people show up. We're talking all about sims, implementing them, making them work, what works for you, what works for others, kind of information sharing, you know, in a friendly environment. So if you're interested, if you've got issues with, setting up your sim, or you know what to blog, or what's giving you heartache at your company, come and join us. We'll definitely get you hooked up.
And advice. I mean, that sim channel has blown up.
Oh yeah, it's one of our most popular ones for obvious reasons. So, yeah. Okay, so you can follow me on Twitter at Brian Brake, BryanBrake. Thank you to all of our patrons. We just got another person who decided he got benefit out of our podcast. So, you can donate as little as $1, and that helps for hosting the podcast. We're trying to, do what we can to get stickers out to people. It's kind of hard to mail out stickers because they weigh less than the stamp to mail them. So we're working on a method by which we can get those out. And so we're doing a lot of stuff. Please feel free to come by, and thank you for everybody who's donating money to help support the show. So we're on Google Play, iTunes. If you like the show, leave us feedback. If you can't pay money, that's as good as gold in many cases. So please do so. I am done this week. I'm going to go. It's been the Sriracha edition here. It's been really hot in my house. So I got up to about 33°C today. For you Americans, that's almost 90 degrees. But we don't have air conditioning in our house. So it's a little warm here today. So, Mr. Betcher, you need to stay cool yourself, all right?
Yeah, we got a heat wave. It's 104. It was 102 today.
Wow, that's 40°C for you metric types and Celsius types. So that's hot. At least we're not in Arizona. It's going to hit like 125, which is around 52°C, I think. That's hot. Yeah, exactly.
That's in the shade.
I can imagine. I can't even. No, I can't even imagine. That's. I don't feel bad about 90 degrees knowing there's places out there that's 125. So anyway. All right. Well, everyone have a great week. It's Breaking Down Security. I'm Brian. That's Brian. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.